We will know our disinformation program is complete when everything the public believes is false. William Casey, director of the CIA, in his first address to his staff in 1981. Doublethink is when one believes in two contradictory beliefs at the same time. It is the opposite of cognitive dissonance, the ability to tell lies and genuinely believe them and to forget any facts that are inconvenient. Advancing doublethink is the elite's defense mechanism from any challenge to their power. The elite know that propaganda will eventually be exposed. But if they can make you lie to yourself and that was accepted as truth, then they can form a new reality. Doublethink produces an intellectual blindness to a contradiction. Doublethink is simply spinning a story to make the government look good by deliberately lying, but then simultaneously believing the new story as exactly how it happened. Most Americans would look at Baghdad Bob and laugh, knowing that what he is telling you is a lie. And yet we believe these same lies just because they come from our State Department. Think about how the Iraqi citizens would look at Baghdad Bob being the spokesperson for one of the most tyrannical regimes in the world. And yet the typical Iraqi would probably look at us and think that we're crazy for believing our politicians. This doublethink is done not only to mislead the populace, but more importantly those that work for the government. This is important because if the regime participants suddenly get conscious or change consciousness, the whole system would collapse because nobody would be there to run the system. An example would be just the military. They have to believe that they're fighting for freedom, but in reality what they're doing is enslaving populations for private profit.
Walking along Aleppo's River Quake this morning, the bodies rarely stopped. Pulled from the muddy water, young, shot at point blank in the head, too gruesome to show here. Whether they floated into or were killed in this rebel territory, nobody knew. But they kept coming, 65, then 81, as the river held forth another massacre.
The people can always be brought to the bidding of its leaders. Tell them that they are being attacked, and denounce peacemakers for a lack of patriotism and for exposing the country to danger. Hermann Göring.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, attack of the drones. The American government is launching a new war. Some of this country's 7,500 drones may be about to take off with new targets in their sights. Today, Niger's ambassador to the United States tells CNN his government has agreed to allow the American military to place drones in his country in an effort to gather intelligence on neighboring Mali, Algeria, and Libya, 3 spots where we've seen a recent explosion and al-Qaeda-linked attacks on Americans.
If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, or military consequences of the lie. It is thus vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus, by the extension, the state is the greatest enemy of the truth. Joseph Goebbels.
Lieutenant General Deptula, some people might say, who cares about drones? A lot of people in this country say, look, we don't want to risk American lives. If we're going to have to fly over and kill quote-unquote bad guys with drones, so be it. Let's do it. And there's people on the left and there's people on the right who agree about that. They say, what are the Pakistanis, or in this case, the Africans? What are they going to do about it? But you know what? Someone might one day, right? It could cause someone to launch another terrorist attack. Or some of the other 70 countries that have drones right now, but most of them cannot arm the drones, might be able to arm drones. Say Iran.
Listen, do I like torture? No, I think torture is probably bad. I think I don't like drones per se, but they make America safer. At the end of the day, this is a movie. It's drama. I think all this hullabaloo by these 3 senators, 2 of which are Democrats, that are very good Democrats, John McCain, an American hero, who was tortured, I think it's all a bunch of ado about nothing at the end of the day. It's a movie. It's a drama. It was not at all meant to be a documentary.
You're right that it's a movie, but it's supposed to be a record of what happened. But the drone program is not making us safer. We're killing lots and lots of people who had nothing to do with our
This
not
is called,
actually enemy combatants.
I appreciate that.
And what happened in the torture program did not make us safer. It gives Al-Qaeda fodder. It gives them a way to recruit. It confirms that our people, when they are captured, they will be treated horribly. It wrecks the soul of America. It taints our image around the world. It doesn't get us actionable intelligence, just pragmatically.
I
Jimmy,
appreciate all those things.
Jimmy, I watched the torture scene in this movie, and as Jane Mayer points out in The New Yorker, at no point in the film do we see any of the debate or argument about torture that happened within the American intelligence community.
That's right.
So how is that not just simply a whitewash of the issue?
Well, because it's a movie.
Sorry, you keep saying that, Jimmy, but at the beginning of the movie it says this. This movie is based upon first-hand accounts of actual events. If it's only a movie, then don't put that up as a rider.
But I think the movie is saying that it isn't right. That's my point. I don't think that. Listen, I go see Harry Potter movies. That doesn't mean that everything in there.
Stop
I mean,
it,
come
Jimmy.
on,
This
guys.
is Harry Potter has no place in this conversation. Harry Potter is a fantastical movie from J.K. Rowling's imagination.
Torre, let me just say this. At the end of the day, we're at war with people that killed 3,000 people on 9/11, that killed people in our embassies and in our diplomatic security places. At the end of the day, I don't give a damn how our American government keeps America safer. I just want them to do it, and I don't want to know about it.
But
and by the way, I think I'm in the majority of American people.
But do you want us to be safer, or do you want to feel good beating people up? Because those are the two choices.
I don't want to know what the American CIA is doing. I don't want to know. I just want to be safer. And I think a majority of Americans would say that. That doesn't make me a bad American.
No.
We are an empire now, and when we act, we create our own reality. And while you're studying that reality judiciously as you will, we will act again, creating other new realities, which you can study too, and that's how things are going to sort out. We're history's actors, and you, all of you, will just be left to study what we do. Karl Rove. The Nazi theory specifically denies that there is such a thing as the truth. The implied objective of this line of thought is a nightmare world in which the leader, or some ruling clique, controls not only the future but the past. If the leader says of such and such an event, it never happened, well, it never happened. If he says 2 and 2 are 5, well, 2 and 2 are 5. This prospect frightens me more than bombs. George Orwell.
The Air Force and the Army all send troops to, say, Somalia for 100 days each. I'm going to call that 4 times 100 equals 400 cumulative combined crisis response days from the services. Billable hours, which I think is the best measurement. This is your expeditionary theater for the 21st century. It's not going away. You can vote Bush Cheney out of office. It'll still be there. So president after president, administration after administration, Republican and Democrat, are going to have to deal with this. And one of the first things we discover in this global war on terrorism, we got a lot of different cooks working this broth. Southern Command, European Command, Central Command, Pacific Command. Basically precinct captains. And what is logically described as largely an undercover war. And we're seeing a redefinition of strategic command as a global strike force. The beginnings of a matrixed organization. Warfighting is going to migrate in the direction of these two commands, previously considered just supporting. Now leads in their own right. A premium on forward deterrence and strike. We got to stay out there. We have to avoid what we've been doing for the last 15 years, which is sucking the troops back home. So are the boys coming home? No, they're never coming home.
On March 19, 2003, the U.S. and its allies went to war against the Iraqi strongman Saddam Hussein. A few months of media campaign was enough to make Iraq an imminent threat to peace and security. Now the war was inevitable, and saving the world from Iraq's weapons of mass destruction was a burden upon the shoulders of the U.S. Army and its allies. No stone was left unturned, but no WMDs were found. The main reason for the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq turned to be just a figment of imagination.
It turns out we were all wrong, probably, in my judgment, and that is most disturbing.
Dramatic increases in infant mortality, cancer, and leukemia in the Iraqi city of Fallujah, which was bombarded by U.S. Marines in 2004, exceed those reported by survivors of the atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, according to a new study. It's been estimated that about 1.5 million Iraqis have died due to U.S. invasion since 2003.
People will accept lies if their lives get better. As their lives get worse, they will inevitably ask questions. And as their lives disintegrate, they will start looking for both answers and suspects. Mike Rupert.
Throughout the summer and fall of 2004, the U.S. military conducted 2 major assaults, which flattened the Iraqi city of Fallujah and displaced most of the city's 300,000 population. In the assault, U.S. commanders largely treated Fallujah as a free fire zone to try to reduce casualties among their own troops. British officers were appalled by the lack of concern for civilian casualties. The U.S. commander who ordered this devastating use of firepower did not consider it significant enough to mention it in his daily report to the U.S. general in command.
Winston, you know how the party keeps power. Now tell me why.
You are ruling us for our own good, because we are not fit to govern ourselves.
That was stupid, Winston. I want intelligence. The party seeks power for its own sake, not as a means but an end. Power over the human mind, and power over all matter, climate, disease, the laws of gravity. Because we control the mind. Reality is inside the skull, Winston. We control the laws of nature. The stars are not light years, but a few kilometers away. If we wished, we could blot them out. Here, that is power. In our world, there will be no love but the love of Big Brother, no laughter but the laugh of triumph over a defeated enemy, no art, no science, no literature, no enjoyment, but always and only, Winston, there will be the thrill of power. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever.
Их военный бюджет в абсолютных величинах почти в 25 раз больше, чем у России. Вот это и называется в оборонной сфере их дом, их крепость. И молодцы, молодцы. Но это значит, что и мы с вами должны строить свой дом, свой собственный дом, крепким, надежным. Потому что мы же видим, что в мире происходит. Но мы же это видим. Как говорится, товарищ Волк знает, кого кушать. Кушает и никого не слушает. И слушать, судя по всему, не собирается.